Buddy, this is an historical moment. Everybody, please welcome back to the Pure Brackets pub, first of all, but also to the first ever inaugural episode of a new series that we're going to be doing called The Beer Explorers. I can feel the beer power surrounding us here.
Definitely too, man. Like this feels and sounds like something that we have been waiting for and that finally has arrived. Like it's a moment that like culminates into this like beer exploration of ours. So it's exciting.
Exactly. If you've been watching the Beer Brackets channel for a while, then you know we're all about the beer exploration. So what we love, we're on a journey. We're on a beer exploration journey ourselves to discover new beers, to go into strange new places, seek out new life, new beer civilizations, and to boldly go where no beer explorer has gone before, my friend. This is our mission. And so what we thought we would do, if you've ever seen one of our Beer Bracket of the Month episodes before, it's going to be a similar structure in the fact that we are going to open and close our beer brackets, but we are going to focus and highlight the joy of the beer hunt. This is what Alessandro and I love to do, and it's very much at the core of the Beer Brackets channel. What brings us joy is going out and seeking delicious, new, amazing beers and bringing them to the table, into the pub, and presenting them to each other and learning about these beers, learning about the legends behind these beers, the stories behind these beers, and celebrating beer drinking together. Beer drinking with a beer friend. It's the essence of what we love to do.
You couldn't have described it better, my friend. Like that's a wonderful explanation. And really, that really is the essence of beer brackets. Like it's paying attention, being in the moment, being here with the people that are around, like that you're surrounded
That's
with,
right.
and you're paying attention to the beer and you're letting it shine and bringing in a little bit of the background of it and explaining why it's there and enjoying it all together and getting excited about it. I think, like you said, like the hunt, the wait, the anticipation.
That's right. Yeah, and Alessandro and I being in different countries, we can't always get the same beer. So a lot of times, if we can't get the same beer to review it, at least one of us gets to talk about it this way. And so we are kicking off the Beer Explorers. Of course, it is Oktoberfest season. So episode number 1 is going to be Oktoberfest themed because, man, and this is a good way to kick off our conversation about beer exploring because I cannot get good Oktoberfest beers in Canada. They just don't. Down in the States, you guys are so lucky. You have a glut of Oktoberfest beers to choose from, and they start this early in the year. I never get any. Nothing. Barely any Oktoberfest beers. But, my friend, today, I'm so excited because for this episode, for the inaugural Beer Explorer episode, I did a beer trek. And I got one amazing special Oktoberfest beer to open my beer brackets with you today. But I must tell you, my second beer is not an Oktoberfest beer. It has nothing to do with Oktoberfest.
Okay.
But it's a special beer.
Okay.
That's going to fit the occasion.
That's exciting, man. Like it sounds like there's a little bit of a roller coaster going on there on your beer selection. So I can't wait to see what you picked. In a way, like with my two, I've been sticking a little bit to the theme, but with a little bit of a twist. And I have a story for the second one.
Oh my God, I love a good beer story.
Yeah, the beer story of the second one is going to be. But I'm gonna start with the first one that it's. To me, it's fitting for a lot of different reasons. We'll get to it.
Let's get to it right now, buddy. There's no time better than the present to open our beer brackets.
All right.
So, my friend, is the first ever opening beer bracket on the Beer Explorer series. What are you opening your brackets with today? I can't wait to see.
So, being the first and being, our inaugural episode, I had to go classic, and I had to go as ancient, as old as human beer history can possibly reckon. And anybody on the channel might know where I'm going with this. Of course, it had to be.
Where are you going?
The Weihenstephaner Festbier. And I'm choosing this, of course, because Weihenstephaner is allegedly, the oldest brewery still active in the world since 1040.
And this 1040.
Yeah.
My God.
But this brings something to mind, my friend. Like 2040 is not that far away. And
That's right.
compared to the history of this brewery. So I'm just gonna throw this out there. So like I feel like a proper celebration in 2040 for beer brackets would be to be in the Weihenstephaner pub and celebrate the 1,000 year of that brewery. So just throwing it out there.
Oh my God. In 2040,
Yes.
I'm going to be turning like 32.
I'm a year older, so 33. So I believe.
I can't wait to hear about that one, man. I know you've had that one before. I've never had it. And it's fantastic. I can't wait to hear all your descriptors about that from my friend. I am so excited. And this beer might not be anything special for people watching at home. Depending on where you are, you might be able to get this pretty readily accessible. But for a crazy Canadian like myself who does not have access to Oktoberfest beers for the most part, seeing this beer on the beer shelf, my friend, I did a drive. And I did a drive over the mountains. And I will post a video of this. I got some good beer footage of driving over the mountain over Hamilton, Ontario, where I live. And you could see Lake Ontario in the distance. And it was a beautiful drive, a beautiful vista. And I wound up at this LCBO on the far side of town. It was a very long drive away. And I saw on their website that they had it, but sometimes these inventory numbers aren't always correct. I was like, drove all the way there and was like, I saw it on the shelves. And there's that, talk about beer exploration, that moment where like there's that one special one that you really want to try. And you go and you seek it out and you walk into the place and you see it on the shelf. And it's like, it's a beautiful beer moment seeing it there. And at first I didn't see it. And I was like, oh my God, it's not with the other imports. And it was on a different shelf. They hid it. They hid it with the locals, with the domestics. And it was there. And I saw it. I was like, oh.
That sounds like the
Opening my beer
perfect
brackets.
beer exploration and beer hunt. Like right there. Like you're
Right?
going in uncharted territory. Like I love that. Like I'm waiting. I'm dying to see. What did you find? What treasure did you bring back from your hunt?
I brought back such a beer treasure, my friend. I brought back I have never seen this beer before in person, but it's the classic Paulaner Oktoberfest.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. Yes, such a good
Can
beer.
you get this one where you are?
I can. Yeah, normally I can. Yes.
Look at all these beautiful Munich women in their bustiers at the top of the can.
Carrying all the mugs.
Carrying all the mugs. So this beer is obviously very, very. It's the number one Oktoberfest beer in Munich, my friend. It's the traditional Munich Oktoberfest beer, and it is the only beer served in Paulaner Oktoberfest tents. The only one that they serve. This one right here in the tents themselves. So this, when you talk about Oktoberfest, this is the beer, man. This is the beer. I am so excited. I couldn't believe that I found this. We've been talking for way too long without a beer, buddy. Let's open these
Let's
up
do it.
and let's get this started. This is like such a big deal for me. I know like a lot of people at home, especially if you're in the States, I know you guys are just so lucky with your Oktoberfest beers. But I've never seen this one before, and I saw it on the website, and I just couldn't believe that they were carrying it for a limited time.
Sorry, my friend, I had to adjust here. The microphone was falling.
No problem.
Well, I'm so excited that we were able to find that because it is a beer that is relatively easy to find here around Oktoberfest season. But it's interesting because, like you said, like that's the traditional one. So I'm excited to hear your first impressions on it.
So, wow, I'm so excited that they just spilled more beer on my beer desk.
It's beer excitement.
I'm way too beer excited. Cheers, buddy. My first taste. Oh my God. That is fantastic. Wow. God, Paulaner is such a good brewery. They're just like everything they do. Everything they do is fantastic.
So what are your first impression, my friend? Like I know you always ask me, you're a gentleman and a scholar, but like I feel like this demands, like since it's your first impression of this beer, we would love to hear what you think.
The aroma is very hoppy. I was expecting the aroma to be a little bit more malty than it is. But then the taste is all malt. Deep malt, like it's sweet almost. It's delicious. I love this. And there's enough of a hop present that it makes it crisp and easy drinking, but still super flavorful. And wow, that carbonation is like light and fluffy. It's not like a really sharp carbonation. It's a little bit more light-bodied. This is fantastic, man. Oh my God. God, I love Paulaner. Such quality beers. Tell me about that one.
I'd love to, my friend.
I know you had that one in the live.
Yes.
And so the last live that we did, our summer live, but I want to hear about it again.
Oh, I would love to tell you, my friend. First of all, like I'll just mention briefly for might not have seen our episode on Oktoberfest where we dive into the deep differences between the styles, but like this is a fest beer, so traditionally fest beers tend to be a little bit lighter in color and they tend to be a little bit more hop forward. As always, Weihenstephaner, I think, like, delivers in a way that it's difficult to replicate, in my opinion, because like you said, Paulaner is, it's so rich and wonderful. But to me, almost like Weihenstephaner like sets the standard of some things, right? Like, so it might not be as impressive at first sight, but what I find with their beers is that once I try them, I always like use them as a comparison for others that I try. And this is a classic example because it has all the elements. They're perfectly balanced. There's nothing out of place. It's like a perfect symphony. Everything is right where it needs to be. You have like the malt presence, the delicious hop forwardness. The beer is like a 5.8% ABV, so it's relatively high. But it drinks like incredibly light, very refreshing. There's no oiliness, stickiness, and it has like a beautiful way of showcasing the hops. I really love that. Like you could, if you gave me this in a big liter stein, like I would probably drink it like I'm drinking it now, like and then just be ready for the next round to come. It's not tiring at all, like, and it's just meant to be drank. Like it's sessionable. It's absolutely delicious. So I wish you could try it, my friend. But maybe one day. Maybe
Oh man, I would love to be able to try that one.
So, and for who might not know, I just wanted to mention that the LCBO, as we call it, is like this magical place in Ontario where you can go and procure your beer treasure. Would you expand on that, my friend?
Well, yes, that's actually a big part of the beer exploration. For anybody who hasn't heard me rant about the LCBOs before, the liquor sales in Ontario are government run, so you can occasionally there are some grocery stores that have license to sell just beer and beer and wine, excuse me, but very few of them do. So for the most part, you have to go to these government-run liquor stores, these liquor outlets. And so in Ontario, they're called the LCBO, where they sell the liquor, and then they have a separate beer store. But the LCBOs also have beers, but mostly imports. So if you want a specialty beer, something a little bit interesting, you can go to the LCBO. And the beer stores normally have like the local domestics, like the big brands. If you want to get like a 2.4 of Coors Light or Budweiser, you could go to the beer store and get a good deal. But if you want like a can of something interesting, a nice import or something a little bit unique, or you want to explore some different craft beers, you would go to the LCBO. There's an interesting setup there for beer shopping in Ontario. It's a little bit different than where I'm from in Quebec, but I am excited, man. Once I go back to Montreal, moving back in 2 months, my beer exploration options are going to be vastly improved. And so it's just going to open the floodgates. My friend, I do want to let everybody know at home, these beers will be drank, don't worry, but it is time to close our beer brackets and let everybody know what we chose as our closing brackets. My friend, I'll let you begin. What did you choose?
So, as I promised, like for my second beer, I have a beer story.
I can't wait for this beer story.
You tell me if I think we should.
I'm going to keep my beer for this beer story.
Yeah, I know exactly. But you can tell me if you want me to tell it now, or should we open the beers and then I can narrate that. Like, and what do you?
You know what? Let's open the beers and then we will cheers to your beer story and listen to the story. That's a good idea. Let's do that.
I like that. Okay, I am particularly excited to present a beer that I've never had before, which is the Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest Festbier.
What? They make an Oktoberfest Festbier? That's awesome.
I had heard rumors about it, but
you'd heard beer rumors.
And I believe if Nate is watching this episode, like he might have been the one that like first whispered that into my ear, and I thought like, no, that's a beer legend.
Beer whispers.
That's a beer legend. It doesn't exist, but he was right.
I must say that is a good beer friend. That beer gives you beer whispers,
right?
Lets you know, it tips you off on interesting beers coming your way.
Right,
such a good beer friend.
And it's interesting because really briefly, it's a 6% ABV beer, and it's brewed in collaboration with, and I'm going to butcher this, Kehrwieder Brewery in Germany. You know, from what I read on the website, it's the brewmaster went to the same school where the brewmaster at the other brewery was. Like, and they had talked about like making a collaboration, and eventually, like they it, you know, it happened. This seems to be, like, from my understanding, like the first time that they collaborate together on the style. So it's quite special, quite interesting. It showcases both traditional German hops but also American hops.
Nice.
So there's this nice combination of the two, which I think is interesting because it's bringing the style like to the next level. So we went from the oldest brewery in the world to something that is a little bit more new and interesting, to see where this style like can take us and bring us. So
I love Sierra Nevada. I love such a fantastic, everything they make is just so full of character and tasty. So my friend, for my closing bracket, I told you this wasn't going to be an Oktoberfest beer. It's not even a German beer. It is something completely random that I've been holding on to in my beer cellar for quite some time. I've had this beer, and anybody at home who might have a beer cellar, you know, a place where you keep special beers for a special occasion, I think you could probably understand this feeling of having a beer that you came across and it's sitting on your shelf and you're waiting for the right occasion to break it out and drink it. And I always tell Alessandro, you know, these are the best occasions, like being in the Beer Brackets pub, in this venue that we get to enjoy, being the Beer Brackets channel, getting to experience these beers and try these new beers. So this one, I was just like, you know what? I can't wait. I know this is technically supposed to be the Oktoberfest episode, but I figured the Paulaner Oktoberfest beer was enough to balance out the fact, you know, that I'm going a little bit different. Because, to be honest with you, I couldn't find any other Oktoberfest beers. That was the only one. That was the only beer in Ontario that I could find.
You found it, my friend. Your hunt was successful.
Exactly. The beer hunt was successful. So now I'm going to have some fun with my closing bracket, buddy. You can see this glass that I have out on my desk over here.
I noticed that.
You noticed my little Innis and Gunn glass here?
I did.
Innis and Gunn is Scotland's best-loved independent brewer, producing an award-winning range of handcrafted oak-aged beers which are enjoyed the world over by drinkers who seek depth of flavour above all else.
So Innis and Gunn is, if anybody knows about them, is a fantastic Scottish brewery out of Edinburgh. We've had some amazing beers of theirs on the channel, outside of the channel. One of my favorite beers that I ever had on Beer Brackets of the Month was their red ale that was aged in Lafroig casks. And there was so much story to that beer because I held on to that beer. I took it down to Florida with me, and Alessandro and I had a beautiful moment sitting outside from an Airbnb that I rented with my family. He came over with his wife, and we had a moment where we escaped, the two of us, from everybody else, and we sat outside and we tasted that beer and we had a beer moment. And I'll never forget that, man. That was a fantastic beer moment. So this one is in a very similar beer box, as you can see. So what I loved about the Lafroig one was it came in this little 2-pack. And it's a beautiful box. It's almost like, you would think it's like a scotch that you're getting over here. So we have reviewed the Innis and Gunn original. This is the original XX, as they call it. The cask strength release.
Okay.
So I said to celebrate 2 decades, the reason why it's called the XX, celebrate the 20-year anniversary of the brewery. They wanted to brew something exceptional. So for the birthday of the original, they traveled back in time to 2003, my friend, the year they started brewing. And at that time, a Speyside distillery filled a series of casks with their famed spirit. And so what they did was they obtained these casks from that year, and they aged the original in those casks. If anybody's wondering what Speyside refers to, it's a region in Scotland. And so when you're talking about Speyside whiskies, it's kind of like the other spectrum away from peaty whiskies. So that region is known for a little bit more sort of fruity characters on the whiskey as opposed to that sort of meaty, peaty kind of flavor. So I'm interested to see when they take their original and they age it in these Speyside whiskey casks for an extended period of time to give it what they call cask strength flavor. I am so excited to try this one, buddy. And I'm so excited to try this with you.
This is amazing, man. What a find. What a find. I'll say I'm quite jealous of these. See, you say you have a limited selection, but maybe you don't.
Limited selection for certain things, but then random things like this pop up a lot. Oh, I love this. I love the like. I'm gonna try and get the beer ASMR involved in this too.
When opening the box, I love it.
The opening of the box. Oh my god! It's like opening a beer present.
Look at
Let's
that.
see.
Look at that. And the clear bottle. Clear bottle.
Clear bottle too, right?
I love
Isn't that
it.
cool? Well, it makes sense. The original comes in the clear bottles too. Cast strength release.
But see, that's interesting because I think when I was able to get the original, at the time the film, the review was in the brown bottle, but I think the recent rerun that they've done is in the clear bottle, which
yes.
makes it very interesting because I haven't had a chance to try it yet or see it actually around here. But I'd be very curious to try it in the clear bottle, like see if it adds any character to it.
My friend, look at this. Aged in 20-year-old whiskey casks.
So this brings a question. Where were you in 2003?
Oh, good question. In 2003, I graduated high school in 2002. In 2003, I was starting college at Dawson College in Montreal, and I was working at U-Haul.
Look at that.
As I was in college, that's what I was doing. I was working at U-Haul washing trucks, and I was kind of like they call it, you worked in the yard. So you're out back, sort of like when people would return trucks, you'd bring them into the garage, you'd scrub them down, you'd wash the inside, you'd check the oil levels on the engine, and you'd drive them back around for the next person who was renting a U-Haul truck, and then you would do the whole check with them, like check the miles on it, and check the fuel level, check their contract, sign it off, and like send them on their way. That's what I did. Yeah.
And what was the beer of the time? If you can go back like that far.
Oh, what a question!
We're diving deep here, my friend.
I don't know. Oh my! I think we just bought whatever was cheap back then.
Okay.
So it was probably a lot of Molson beers.
Okay, so
That was
the
probably the
Molson
cheapest things that
Canadian
we could
was like
find.
the go-to.
Actually, Molson Dry was a big one that they had back then. That was the cheapest one. All right, buddy, let's crack open these beers
do
and
it.
let's get started with this. I'm so excited.
Let's do it.
Oh my god, this smells like whiskey.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It smells like whiskey, but like a non-peaty whiskey, like we said the Space Side, like it's. Wow, look at that. Beauty. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers to you. Cheers to you, my friend. Pleasure
what
to
a
be here in the
great-
pub with you.
Such a pleasure. What a great opening episode of the Beer Explorers. Here we go. Oh my god.
Okay, I gotta ask you. So I want to hear your full reaction here because that's such a special and unique beer that I think it deserves and it demands attention.
I love Innis and Gunn so much. I find they don't get enough love and recognition on the beer scene. They're considered a little bit of a big brewery, I guess. Maybe that's why. Yeah, it might have to do with like, when we had that Beer Bracket Sessions episode with Johnny from the Craft Beer Channel and we were talking about Innis and Gunn, and he kind of hinted at the fact, and he's kind of like my barometer for beer nerdery. And, he was kind of saying how he was a little bit, the whole barrel in beer method that they use instead of aging beer inside of barrels. Traditionally started taking like the barrel chips and like throwing them into the beer in like these burlap sacks to transfer the flavor. And so some beer nerds got really upset about that. Maybe that had something to do with their reputation being tarnished. But oh my God, they make fantastic beers.
So tell me about the flavors.
I've never tasted a beer like this before. It's really hard to describe. There's a lot of things going on. It's if you've had the Innis and Gunn original before, you know that there's kind of like a sweet toffee caramel character to the beer. And then that's accentuated. It's sweeter. It's a lot sweeter than the original. So take all those characters and magnify them, like double them. But then on top of that, there's a very strong, distinct, clean whiskey flavor. Like very, very, very clean. And we talk about like the Space Side whiskeys, as they call them. So no peatiness, not like what you'd think of a peaty Scotch, but just like a very sort of clean, slightly fruity Scotch. So that mixes with the sweetness actually really well, and it creates this incredible flavor profile that's just, dude, this is unbelievable. I can't believe this beer. So tell me about that one. I can't wait to hear about it.
Oh, my friend, like I took it for a sip It's interesting that I'm trying these two fest beers side by side, like in a sense. I just had like the Weihenstephaner and going over to this, the Sierra Nevada, they're so different. But yet there's similar characteristics. They're equally refreshing, equally sessionable. Like I said, like the Weihenstephaner is 5.8. This is 6. So it's like, basically the same percentage. Yeah. This one here has more, and this is what I like about it. It showcases more of the American hop variety. I think they use Cascade in the mix of hops that they have. You can taste it. Like the moment you take a sip, like it feels like it has that same like light and refreshing mouthfeel that you expect from an Oktoberfest beer, like meant to be drank, like and enjoyed, like in big mugs. But in the finish, it leaves this unique Sierra Nevada signature of the Cascade hops, like that they so well do in all of their beers.
So well, yeah.
And there's a couple of things I wanted to mention here, and then we'll get to the beer story. But one thing that I wanted to mention is, if I'm not mistaken, they're bringing back this beer. Like they had done like a fest beer, an Oktoberfest beer before, but this is the first year that they're bringing it back, like within their rotation. And another thing that I wanted to mention is that this, I think for me, is the first year that I actually managed to try all 4 of their, well, technically not yet, but if you count like the past season, all 4 of their seasonal beers, because I tried last. Exactly. It's like I collected all the stickers. Because I had their celebration around like the December period of time. And then right after you have like the powder day, which I featured in an episode. And then we have the Oktoberfest. And the last one is escaping me right now. Oh yeah, the Summerfest, of course, the Summerfest. That's another one like they introduced this year, was great too. So like, got all 4 of them.
All right, man. Well, you promised a good beer story. So please, now that we've heard about the beer, this delicious beer, we got to hear this beer story.
I was excited to tell you about this beer story. I might have mentioned it before, but it's an interesting story because to me, it ties in with Oktoberfest, but in a weird way. We might have mentioned on the channel before, I am originally from Italy, but I moved here in the United States about like 8 years ago at this point, like close to 8 years, specifically in Florida. As every Floridian knows, like around the Oktoberfest time is when usually hurricanes start to make their appearance, specifically in the September month. As a foreigner, I'd heard about them, but I never experienced like what it is involved into everything. Like when you live in a place like that, like here, like you have to be prepared and understand like certain things, what you can do, what you can't do, what you have to stock up on, and so on. And interestingly enough, one of the first years that I moved here, and I experienced one of the first like major hurricanes that was potentially coming and hitting like here, the area where I live, decided like, well, one of the things that I want to have, like knowing that I'm going to be a few days potentially with that, like I want to grab some beer. So like I decided to buy like a 12 pack of Oktoberfest because, it was available. And like you said, it's always available here in the States, like around August and through September. And since then, for me, it has become a bit of a tradition. Like, so it's whenever I know that there's a hurricane coming around, like I got to have a 12 pack of Oktoberfest beer because it's kind of like my lucky charm. And so far, like luckily, nothing bad has ever happened. So like I see it as my own tradition. But this year, my friend, like this is where the story like starts becoming into a tragedy. This year, a hurricane was hitting, and I had gone into different stores and I couldn't find a 12 pack that was an Oktoberfest beer. So it's like I was like starting to get like desperate. Tragedy. Was going from store. Yeah, beer tragedy, going from store to store. And then the unexpected happened. I was in the store, like it was actually like late at night. I was getting like some last few things that I needed for around the house. I was walking down the beer aisle and there was nothing. And then I happened to turn an aisle, and at the end of the aisle, on an end cap, they had an Oktoberfest, beer
like a display
special, a few different beers. And I looked through them, and some of them were already like leaning more towards the Halloween season, like because those you find already here in the U.S., at least in Florida. And I didn't quite see anything that, I was like, okay, these are more like pumpkin beers. So, but then I looked up. There was one last case in a corner hidden of the Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest. You can understand the culmination there of like, first of all, like I didn't know that was a real thing. I thought it was just a whisper.
was
And
only a bee
then
whisper.
I see it. Yes. And then I see it there. And it's just like the light radiating from it. And I said, yes, I've been waiting for you. So I just go and grab it.
It's beautiful. It's a
And
beautiful. I have a beer tier. It's forming.
wait, my friend, I have more.
What do you have there?
I kept
Oh, look at that.
for the occasion. I kept
Wow.
the little package that was sitting there. Look how beautiful it is.
Oh my God. I could just imagine. You described that moment so perfectly, my friend. I felt like I was reading like an award-winning New York Times bestseller, just listening to you describe that story. And I can picture that perfectly, like, with the impending hurricane and the doom that's involved in that, and going to the store, not seeing anything, and then seeing that beautiful case in the corner, in the back corner. And just like how festive it is with Oktoberfest and the big letters and like the ribbon, the flowing ribbon, the hanging. That's just, wow.
All the really, at that point when I saw that, I knew it's like everything is going to be fine because here is the Oktoberfest, and not any Oktoberfest. It's from Sierra Nevada, which I've never had. And I knew also, among other things, that we had planned on filming this episode. So it was just like a lot of different things culminating into one specific moment. The perfect beer hunt.
This has been one of the most epic opening and closing beer brackets I've ever experienced. This has been amazing. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us in the Beer Brackets Pub for this first ever episode of the Beer Explorers. I hope you had a good time. Let us know down below. Have you tried any of these beers? What do you think about them? What do you think about them? Thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you here with us. As always, whatever you do, don't forget
To close your beer brackets.
Never forget. Cheers, friends.